What was the early missionary view of Māori culture?
Some have suggested that the missionaries had a policy of obliterating Māori culture. This is really a most unfair criticism. If we were to line up everyone who was here in New Zealand who had come here other than the Māori in about the 1830s or 40s, we would have the missionaries, we would have the whalers, sealers and traders, we'd then have lots of settlers, the New Zealand Company and eventually the Colonial Office. Were we to line them up in terms of the way that they valued Māori sovereignty and lands and customs, there is no question that the missionaries would be number one amongst those who valued these things. And in the 1830s, we see them specifically campaigning for the protection of Māori sovereignty, lands and customs. As an example, settlers came here for a better life and would teach their children only English. Our early missionaries came here to serve Māori, and they would educate their children alongside Māori children, teaching both English and Māori. Some of the early missionary children are said to have spoken Māori better than they knew how to speak English. However, they made mistakes. For example, in the whare nui, there are carvings, and the early missionaries saw this as idolatry, and that is carved images that would be worshipped rather than worshipping the Creator God who is above all. To this day, there are some marae in Northland where the whare nui have no carved images as a result. However, this could be viewed more gracefully, seeing these carvings as simply the equivalent to a family photo album, helping Māori to remember their ancestors so they could learn from their history. This is to say they did make mistakes, and they probably didn't have a cultural appreciation to the extent that we have today, because we have the benefit of 200 years of history and mistakes and lessons learnt from them behind us. However, the missionaries did not consider everything they saw in Māori culture to be something that needs valuing and preserving. They did not seek to preserve utu, revenge, or cannibalism, or human sacrifice, infanticide, or the sometimes poor treatment of women. They saw these as symptoms of the fallen human nature and actively worked to stop these things. But this is no different to the way they viewed the drunkenness and the whoring of the Europeans at Russell. So was their policy that of obliterating Māori culture? By no means. I think it would be fair to say our early missionaries were the greatest defenders of it.